kina Kenyatta walitawala miaka 15 na ingine inaenda kuisha 10. Hiyo ni miaka 50. Tunasema imetosheka hiyo, tusonge tujipange kama vijana. Ama namna gani? Hata sisi kwa watu wamezaliwa, hakuna mtu ambaye hajazaliwa hapa na baba yake. Kweli ama uongo? Kwa hivyo tutajipanga vile tulivyo, watu wa tuktuk, watu wa bodaboda na watu wa wheelbarrow. Nikisema wheelbarrow unasema kazi ni kazi. Wheelbarrow! Wheelbarrow! Ruto! Wheelbarrow! Mungu awabariki sana.
Haya, nataka ngoja. Tafadhali weka mikono chini. Mimi kama mwenyekiti wa ASNA Kenya mzima, nachukua nafasi hii kumkaribisha na kumpokea Mheshimiwa Mwaura katika siasa za ASNA Nation. Mwaura hoye! Mwaura hoye! Na mimi nitawaambia baadaye hii kofia namfanisha maana yake sio sasa, lakini ni UDA.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm interested in maybe you give us guidance on how you came up into that communication, taking into account that there is an existing court order. There are several steps that have to predicate your decision before you render that decision. Mr. Speaker, sir, I expect you consider tabling before us the correspondence from IEBC, Mr. Speaker, sir, the correspondence from the tribunal, Mr. Speaker, sir. Also, an explanation as to why a valid court order has been disregarded by the political party, by IEBC, by Senate. To my personal friend, he is no longer a member of the Honorable Senate. And to me, if we allow your communication to stand, Mr. Speaker, sir, we shall be sending a very dangerous precedent in this House, Mr. Speaker, sir. It will be you, Honorable Senator, next time. It will be me next time, where the executive is using its power to deny and to de-whip and to denominate our fellow colleague. I urge Honorable Senators, please, let us rise and stamp the authority on behalf of Senator Mwaura. It is now he needs us. It is you next time you'll be in the same predicament, notwithstanding our political differences. Please, Honorable Senators, let us stand for our colleague. Thank you.
Senator Murkomen. It's not working.
Obvious?
Just a minute, the system is... I was calling Senator Murkomen, not you.
Oh.
Virtual. Unmute yourself.
Mr. Speaker, I'm unmuted.
Okay. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, as a matter of fact, I've been raising this point of order for some time now. First of all, the issue of Senator Mwaura, Mr. Speaker, it will be unfortunate if you are going to disregard an existing court order that is from the High Court, that, Mr. Speaker, was provided by the High Court to preserve the rights of Honorable Mwaura, and the order exists up to 20th of May, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I would expect that you would handle differently a matter that involves removal of a fellow senator. Mr. Speaker, why would you be so much in a hurry without the proper decision of the courts to remove someone Mr. Speaker, who has been elected. And let's stop these stories of nominated senators. There's no difference between those who are elected through party list and those who are elected by votes like ourselves. The Constitution treats all of us equally. Mr. Speaker, why would you want to be in such a hurry to degazette a colleague when, Mr. Speaker, a legal process is ongoing? When a similar process in the National Assembly through the whole process up to now, the Court of Appeal. Mr. Speaker, I really beg you, there would be other grounds of expediting processes like our removal, which happened this day or 1 year ago, and we are still waiting your ruling. But Mr. Speaker, when it comes to complete removal of a member from Parliament, not positions from Parliament, Mr. Speaker, you should have acted in such a hurry, especially you are acting against an existing order of High Court, Mr. Speaker, that is in place up to 20th of May. I believe you should, the staff, Mr. Speaker, the clerks and your office should have given you a different advice. I can see you are extending that blame to somebody else, but the decision is yours. And Mr. Speaker, before taking that decision, you should have spent time to consult, Mr. Speaker, the relevant documentation. It will be sad if, as a Senate, you become the first speaker under the new constitution to violate the constitution by removing a colleague. I urge you, Mr. Speaker, to reconsider that stand.
Wait, is there one?
Senator, Professor Kindiki.
Mr. Speaker, sir, with tremendous respect, I request you to make your own decision, and there is nothing inferior or nothing untoward if you considered or reconsidered your own decision, Mr. Speaker. In the matter of Senator Isaac Mwaura, Mr. Speaker, this is the first time in the history of Kenya when a member of the House has lost office through this process. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, I know arguments have been made about the court order. I concur with those arguments, except to say that this is the only area where I concur with courts injuncting Parliament, because I've already made my positions clear on injunctions and the two arms of government, the legislature and the executive. I have always argued, Mr. Speaker, in the past, in the present, and in the future, that the judiciary cannot inject Parliament in its legislative role. But in quasi-judicial or administrative roles, injunctions are quite legal. So, Mr. Speaker, if there is a court order, it needs to be complied with. Number two, Mr. Speaker, I see no hurry in chasing you away a colleague, because you are the Speaker of this House. So Senator Mwaura is our colleague, is your colleague. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to go on record that this is a travesty of justice, whatever decision you take. And I hope the people of Kenya are taking notice of how we are observing the constitution that they passed. And if we are disregarding this constitution, nothing will prevent us from even undermining the amendments that we are considering this afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg you, respectively, to reconsider your decision.
Senator Cherargei.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And it is sad that we have to discuss about our colleague. Mr. Speaker, as you have discretion at any point in time to reconsider and relook at your decision, because I'm aware Senator Mwaura had showed me a court order, a pre-existing court order, that was to up to 28th May, Mr. Speaker, and we would have expected that since, Mr. Speaker, you know you are our father, you are supposed to protect all of us. You are our last line of defense, and we expect when anything comes before you, especially on your colleague senator, and being our leader in this house, to take a lot of time to console, to relook. And Mr. Speaker, the advantage that was existing was you already have a court order in place. And you being a seasoned administrator, being a leader, you should have relooked at those issues that exist on the table, Mr. Speaker. Because, Mr. Speaker, if you allow this to slide, it is a threat to democracy, where when you don't agree or disagree with the opinion of your party or anybody else that has the power to remove you, they just remove you the way they wish, Mr. Speaker. And my worry goes to our colleagues who also are nominated, because they will be hanging by the thread, because they'll just be threatened. They will now need to donate their brains and their minds to somebody else, so that they don't need to make decisions that they can run afoul against the owners of party or individuals that, and I think as a threat, and it is good the fighters of second liberation and democracy like Senator James Orengo is in this house, that, Mr. Speaker, we must be careful. I beseech you and I beg of you, Senator Isaac Mwaura is one of us. Finally, Mr. Speaker, what I ask you to consider and look at your decision. Today we are considering the constitutional amendment bill. This bill, we are told, they are supposed to address issues of marginalization, the disability, the underprivileged in the society. Mr. Speaker, sir, Senator Isaac Mwaura was nominated as a special interest group through the part of disability. If we undermine what we are supposed to be considering as part of all inclusivity, people like Isaac Mwaura was representing a special section of this society, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, if we are the ones who will now be undermining that aspect of special interest group, Mr. Speaker, then it is very unfortunate. So I think this issue, Mr. Speaker, is not only about Jubilee or majority or minority side. I think as a house, we need to stand with one of us. Just the way we stood when Senator Mithika Linturi was arrested, Senator Langat, Senator Lilegwe, and many others. The house was suspended until the matter was heard. And Mr. Speaker, we want to congratulate you then, because you always stood on our best interest as a house. So, Mr. Speaker, as our father, as a seasoned administrator, and as our leader, as our line of last defense, Mr. Speaker, I think this matter is so serious, is so very important that you need to reconsider and relook at your decision, so that, Mr. Speaker, we are aware after you have communicated somebody mischievous in the IBC can go ahead and gazette Isaac Mwaura and even gazette somebody else, because they will be using the strength of your decision. And you know this house has the powers of quasi-judicial of a high court, where you have pronounced yourself, it can be used. So, Mr. Speaker, we beseech and beg of you that this is very important. It is one of us. We look up to you to provide appropriate guidance and ensure that justice is served and it is not travesty of justice. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Orengo.
Mr. Speaker, this matter is very unfortunate, and I think we got ourselves to blame. I want to be very forthright to the members here. I've always pleaded that this House has to comply with the court orders. And I raised this issue when we had a court order in the matter concerning the impeachment of the governor for Taita Taveta. And the House declined to obey that court order. And court orders are court orders. You cannot choose which one to obey or not. You cannot begin to now argue that this is legislative, this is what. In accordance with Article 10, a court order is a court order. And I still believe that if you want to become a nation governed by laws, then the first principle is to obey court orders. And we have not been faithful to this fundamental requirement of the law. Even this Wajir case, we've got a court order. And we said Parliament cannot be injuncted. I don't believe Parliament cannot be injuncted. Parliaments are injuncted worldwide. Even the House of Representatives, the Senate in the United States, there are a lot of court orders that are issued against Parliament in the European Court, in the Supreme Court of England, there were proceedings challenging active proceedings in the House of Commons, in the House of Lords and the House of Commons. It was presided over by a very honored Lady Chief Justice. And the orders, Parliament was injected, and the issue remained there until the appeal process was completed. So what I'm pleading with you, you cannot choose, you cannot elect and choose which orders to obey and which one not to obey. Right now, we got orders against the National Assembly, and the National Assembly is complying with those orders in the matter which is in the Court of Appeal. But we are on record here saying, you know, court orders mean nothing. I think it's a very unfortunate state of affairs. Not even during the Kanu rule would somebody say that you cannot obey court orders. That is number one. I think you've got to blame yourselves. You have said on record, in fact, Your Honor, Mr. Speaker, I was writing some article based on the two decisions which are here. And you remember Speaker Kindiki made what was called a landmark ruling, where he said we cannot obey court orders. That is on record. That is on record. And I believe on questions of human rights, they are so fundamental, they are so central to our system of constitutionalism, that whenever there's an allegation, even a threat to a violation of fundamental rights, the courts can intervene. I remember in South Africa where the parliament in South Africa was trying through committee a member of the minority party, which was the Nationalist Party, the Democratic Party, and parliamentarians say, no, you can disregard court orders. We want to kick that member of parliament out. But the High Court sitting in Cape Town intervened, and Parliament was injuncted. So what I want to say, Mr. Speaker, we got to be consistent. We should settle this question, whether court orders matter or they don't. That question we have not settled. So when it pleases us, we say there's a court order. When it doesn't please us, they say court orders can go to hell. We have to be consistent. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we have now two sets of documents. A letter from the lawyer purportedly serving your office with a court order. And that letter is dated today. And there's another letter dated, I think, 10th of March. I can't read it properly. Now, all these papers should be placed before you. And I have a lot of sympathy for Senator Mwaura. I can even go and intervene for him in court, just like I intervened in the case of Senator Wetangula when he was being removed maliciously, and in fact that one he was being removed by an order of the court, and we argued and said that the court order was not good enough for his removal, and I think Senator Wetangula would confirm that. And even this time, I am ready and prepared. Last week I made a speech here and say, you got a right to protect me, and I also have to protect you. So this is one of our own. We should find a better way of protecting him. Now, Mr. Speaker, the only problem that you have now is that there's a Gazette notice. And Senator Wako will tell you, in law they would say you are functus official. The law does not allow you to recall your decision in matters like this when it is already gazetted. But I think I know how this decision can be recalled, not by you. No, because it's a functus official. Yeah, he can't. That's a fundamental principle of law. Once you have made a decision, and I think Professor Kindiki knows that in this circumstance, you're a functus official. You cannot pretend to be doing anything. You'll be in a lot of trouble, even you. if you are to revise this decision, which you have already made and is gazetted. So me, what I will plead with, and I had a little discussion with Senator Mwaura outside, let me be open. And I told him exactly what should be done. But pleading here with you, I think is lamentation in this kind of circumstances. I think you better get all the papers, see when you are served, was it before this Gazette notice? And the order of stay, what does it say? Is it staying your decision? Or what is it staying? So we need to get all these details for you to make a decision. But me, I plead that we should sit together, because Mwaura is one of our own, to find a way to help. But we are not going to help by pleading with you when the thing is already in the Gazette notice. Not even the President of the Republic of Kenya can do that, by the way. Once he gazettes something under an instrument of the law, it is over. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Wetangula.
Can you? Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I want to join my colleagues who have extended a heart of sympathy to Senator Mwaura, who is fallen victim of the implosion in his party. Mr. Speaker, Senator Orengo has put it very well. When I was maliciously pursued to the extent where the Supreme Court directed that my name be struck off the voters' roll and directed IBC to effect the order. First, my case is slightly different. Nothing was gazetted. But we went to the IBC. They formed a tribunal chaired by lawyer Letangule, Mrs. Mahiri Shaja, and there's the gentleman from the coast. What is his name, Faki? Alawi. And they made a decision that was probably more sound than decisions we get from the High Court. And they protected my rights. My rights, having won openly and convincingly in an election, to be taken away by some malicious pursuit. And Mr. Speaker, in this particular case, I share the same views with Senator Orengo. One, you've made a communication from the chair, which you say you have been advised by Senate lawyers, and you have quoted a Gazette notice. Mr. Speaker, I can tell you that in law, if you try to reverse your decision, you'll be in serious trouble. Serious trouble. And I don't think you have made that communication either maliciously or ignorantly, because you have quoted the Gazette notice. What I want to advise Senator Cheriot, my good friend, Senator Murkomen, who can give pro bono services to Senator Mwaura, my distinguished colleague Kindiki, a fine lawyer in his own right, who traces his roots in law, partly from me, Mr. Speaker, that the best you can and should do is, one, look at the Constitution. It says you cannot be disenfranchised until you have exhausted all the machinery and the steps of appeal. I don't know if Senator Mwaura has exhausted that. Number two is to go to court and fight ferociously. And some of us who stand for rights of others are available if we are requested to lend a hand and our brain to expunge and annul the Gazette notice, because neither the government printer, nor the Speaker of this House, nor any person other than the High Court can expunge that Gazette notice and go back to the status quo ante. Then Senator Mwaura's position will be saved. So we can debate here, Mr. Speaker, for the next 1 hour and say a lot of things with very colorful language, quote the law, quote Shakespeare, quote Greeks, quote everybody. But, Mr. Speaker, eventually, it is a matter of application of the law. And I agree with Senator Orengo that we need finally to agree as a House. Do court orders matter or not? Senator Cheriot, you avoided to mention that it's me who said here last week that this House has benefited immensely from court processes. It is me who said that, and I dare say that our advice or opinion and our several forays in court is what has given dignity, standing, presence, and respect to this House. Otherwise, we would have been overrun. We have enemies from every direction, but courts have been our first and last line of defense. Thank you.
Okay, honorable senators, I've listened. I have heard. The only thing I can promise, one, or confirm, is that at the time I sat here, I had not seen any court order. Because you remember, we came here at 10. Number two, on Tuesday, I will avail all the documents that led to that decision. Because there are also other pending petitions, you know, in my office where action has not been taken, and there must be a reason why action has also not been taken. So on Tuesday, I promise to show you all the documentation that I have that led to that process. Next order.